Hello, I'm Alin Ratmaja. You're watching Economic Outlook live from Jakarta. We will present you with the latest update on the country's economy as well as weekly roundup on domestic as well as global stock markets. I'm Alin Ratmaja and here's our headlines for today. United Arab Emirates state-owned renewables company Masdar Clean Energy has acquired shares in the newly listed Pertamina Geothermal Energy as part of its strategic investment expansion in Indonesia. The Indonesia International Motor Show, IIMS, one of the country's largest car exhibitions, marked the comeback of the automotive market to the pre-pandemic level. U.S. stocks rebounded in a week that ended on the 3rd of March. Major averages in the U.S. ended the week higher. Those are our headlines for today. Let's start with the top news of the week. United Arab Emirates state-owned renewables company Masdar Clean Energy has acquired shares in a newly listed Pertamina Geothermal Energy (PGE) as part of its strategic investment expansion in Indonesia. Pahala Nugraha Mansuri, Indonesia's state-owned enterprises deputy minister, said in Jakarta recently that the UAE-based company invested in Pertamina Geothermal through Indonesia Investment Authority. He said that Masdar and INA had acquired 20% of Pertamina Geothermal shares. A source said that of the 20% stake, 15% is held by Masdar and the other 5% by Pertamina Geothermal. The PGE investment is part of Masdar's expansion in Indonesia. Masdar is developing 145 megawatt Cirata floating solar PV plant in Indonesia. Last year, the company agreed to cooperate with TOS Power, EDF Renewables, and Indonesia Power to explore development of up to 1.2 gigawatt solar capacity in Indonesia for export to Singapore. Indonesia is ready to face a legal suit from China at the World Trade Organization (WTO) as the consequence of its plan to ban exports of bauxite ore later this year, as stated by senior government official. Special staff to the Minister of Trade for International Trade Agreements, Bara Krishna Hasibuan, said recently the government would go ahead with its plan to ban exports of bauxite ore in the middle of this year, despite opposition from a number of countries, including China. At present, China is the largest buyer of Indonesia's bauxite ore. As the consequence of export ban, China will likely challenge it through the World Trade Organization, or the WTO. In 2019, the European Union filed a legal suit against Indonesia's nickel ore export ban at the WTO and subsequently won the case. Indonesia, however, opposes the WTO ruling and continues to ban the export of the commodity until now. Foreign tourist arrivals increased fivefold to 735,950 in January 2023, according to the latest data issued by the Statistic Indonesia, or the BPS. Puji Ismartini, Deputy for Distribution and Services Statistics at the Statistics Indonesia, BPS, said that 620,900 of the total arrivals were recorded at main gateways, while the remaining 115,000 recorded at border areas. Most of the tourists, or about 15%, were Malaysians, followed by Australians at 13.5% and Singaporeans at 13%. However, if compared to December 2022, the number of foreign tourist arrivals in January 2023 declined by 17.7%. In December last year, foreign tourist arrivals reached 895,120 foreign tourist arrivals, surging by 400 47% year-on-year. Tourism and Creative Economy Minister Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno recently said the government were expecting 7.4 million foreign tourist arrivals this year, twice higher than 3.6 million in 2022. The Agriculture Ministry has received foreign grants worth $66 million and $55 million worth of loans to develop highland farming. The grants came from several sources under a global institution called the Lives and Livelihood Fund, the organization which consists of Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as Islamic Development Bank, IDB, among others. Meanwhile, the $50 million loan came from International Fund for Agriculture Development, or IFAD. The Ministry's Director General of Horticulture, Prihasto Sutanto, said following his meeting with representatives of the organization at his office in Jakarta recently, the funds will be used to build retention basin irrigation and providing trainings to farmers and breeders at highlands. The ministry has been facilitating the activities called integrated farming in 14 regencies and 7 provinces with a focus on food crops, horticulture, plantation, and animal husbandry. Indonesian headline inflation in February 2023 exceeded the estimates of some analysts due to the sharp increase in transportation costs. Heavy rainfall and the upcoming Ramadan season will put upward pressure on consumer prices this month.
Statistic Indonesia, or BPS, announced on Wednesday that the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, increased by 5.47% year-on-year in February, exceeding the 5.28% recorded in January. However, the monthly inflation rate eased to 0.16% in February from the 0.34% increment logged in the preceding month. Core inflation, which has become the de facto basis for Bank Indonesia's interest rate policy, eased to 3.09% in February, dropping from 3.27% in January. The annual rise in consumer prices in February was driven by higher costs for transportation, with BPS registering a yearly increase of 13.59%, largely due to a fuel price hike in September last year. Higher airfares pushed up the transportation category, while higher rice prices pushed up the food, beverages, and tobacco category, as did a 10% increase in the cigarette excise that kicked on January the 1st.
Indonesian car market returns to pre-pandemic era. The Indonesia International Motor Show, IIMS, one of the country's largest car exhibitions, was held in Jakarta in the middle of last month. It not only showcased the new car brands and technology, but also marked the comeback of the automotive market to the pre-pandemic level.
President Joko Widodo recently opened the Indonesia International Motor Show, or IIMS, one of the country's largest car exhibitions, which was held at the Kemayoran Fairground in central Jakarta. The exhibition did not only display new brand cars, but also the latest technology in the automotive industry. In his speech at the opening of the exhibition, which was held on February 16th through to February 26th, President said that he was impressed with the rapid development of the country's automotive industry. He believes that the industry will continue to grow as the demand for new cars in the domestic market will remain high in the coming years. The president also hoped that in the future, the car producers would not only focus on the domestic market, but also export market. Exports of locally assembled cars should be further increased, although some of the car companies have exported their vehicles in a number of countries. In terms of technology, the domestic car industry has also shown a remarkable progress. But the president called on all domestic car companies to gradually shift to electric car production. The transition to the electronic vehicle technology should be started from now, unless it will be too late for the country's automotive industry to catch up with the rapid change in the automotive technology. The government is currently pushing for the establishment of an electric car ecosystem from upstream to downstream so that Indonesia can enter the global supply chain in the sales of electric vehicles. One of the government's priorities is to encourage investors to enter the electric car battery manufacturing industry. The government has also promised to provide 80 million rupiah incentives for each electric car purchase. Hybrid electric cars will get a 40 million rupiah incentives. Electric motorbikes as well as converted motorbikes will also receive 8 million and 5 million rupiah incentives respectively. Locally manufactured electric vehicles will be eligible for the incentives. Meanwhile, the project manager of Indonesia International Motor Show, Rudi MF, said that as many as 45 famous brands or vehicles and motorcycles took part in the exhibition, in addition to more than 100 of companies involved automotive-related industries. One of the brands displayed during the event is the locally made SMK car that partly contributed to the skyrocketing of its popularity in 2014.
Tentu berharap trennya selalu positif, tapi kalau dilihat tahun sebelumnya saja angka penjualan mobil bahkan sudah tembus 1 juta unit, sudah seperti before pandemic, dan juga motor juga sampai 5,2 juta. Artinya kita berharap dengan momentum IMS di awal tahun, apalagi momentum sebelum Lebaran, biasanya habit orang Indonesia belanja mobil, motor baru, aksesoris, mudah-mudahan dengan diawali IMS, pameran skala internasional awal tahun, tren industri otomotif terus tumbuh ke depan.
Indonesia is one of the largest automotive markets in Southeast Asia. Sales of 4 or more wheeled vehicle in Indonesia throughout 2022 reached 1 million units, or up 18% compared to the previous year. The figure exceeded the target previously set by the Indonesian Association of Automotive Industries, or Gaikindo. The association set sales target of only 960,000 vehicles in 2022, considering that the local car market was still in the process of recovery following the market. As told by President Joko Widodo in his speech, the Indonesian automotive industry has very good prospects as demand is expected to continue to grow. But the local car producers should not rely on the domestic growth. They should look for growth opportunities overseas, outside its main markets in Asia.
The Indonesian automotive industry has performed quite well and operated normally after a major setback caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Sales have even reached the pre-pandemic level and exports have also begun to increase again. Today, we have here joining us live by Zoom Bapak Kukuh Kumara, the Secretary General of the Association of the Automotive Manufacturers, agar Gaikindo. He will share with us the latest update on the automotive industry as well as the outlook of the car market this year. Good afternoon, Pak Kukuh. Thank you very much for joining us live today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me in this program.
Yes, sure, our pleasure. So we would like to know from your side, your point of view, the latest state of the automotive industry in Indonesia.
Yeah, it's interesting that you have been reported that the automotive industry in Indonesia has bouncing back after being hit so hard by the pandemic. We usually, the domestic market are reaching about 1 million unit per year, but during the pandemic, we are hit hard. It's only 500 something, 500,000 unit per year. But thanks for the government policy, a number of policy, we are able to bouncing back. And as reported last year, the total domestic sales wholesale are reaching 1,047,000 unit, which is good indicators after the pandemic. And the other thing is also, as mentioned by Bapak Presiden, that we have to move forward with the not only rely on the domestic market, but we're also looking for the export.
So sales have returned to the pre-pandemic level, as you mentioned. Do you think that this growth will continue in the coming years, Pak Kukuh?
Yes, we expect that, as you know, that the 2021, we are able to coming back after being provided by the incentive from the government. But the incentive itself has been finished last year. So no more incentive on the sales of the vehicles, but the market is keep growing. So this is a good indicators that mostly the automotive industry are following the growth of the economic of the country. As long as the growth of the economy is above 5%, the automotive industry also be able to grow.
So we enjoy the tailwind of the growth of Indonesia's economy. Yes. So as we all know, small cars like Honda Brio or family cars like Toyota Avanza have been dominating the automotive market in Indonesia. So what do you think about the premium cars market, Pak Kukuh?
Well, it is interesting. All the time, people asking about the premium car, but the Indonesian automotive market are dominated by first multi-purpose vehicles. Basically, 7-seaters are quite popular quite sometimes, and then the city cars also quite popular. The main reason is the buying power of most of the Indonesian consumer are the vehicles or car which is priced below 300 millions. So this is the most popular one within the reach of most of the Indonesian. And the premium car, of course, there is a market there, even though it's not that big. I think it's about 1 or 2%, but it's there. And most importantly, that even the premium car has been able to be produced in Indonesia. We have a number of premium car being built in Indonesia and have the customer in Indonesia. And we are looking forward that the premium car itself can be exported to other countries. So it's a good progress on the automotive industry.
So Pak Kukuh, as we all know, President Joko Widodo has called for local car makers to look for opportunity in the overseas market. Do you think we have the chance, or what are the challenges for us to fight or to compete in the international market for our cars?
Yes, of course, we already doing that, and we continue to expand to export to more countries. Maybe not so well communicated to the people that currently Indonesia already exported to 93 countries in the world our CPU car. So we exported, and last year, 2022, we also reached an all-time high of the export of CPU vehicles. Total almost 500,000 units has been exported. This is the highest that we achieved. Previously in 2019, we export about 332,000 units CPU. And also very important that not only the CPU are exported to other countries, we also exported in the CKD vehicle, which is completely knocked down. We exported that one, but it's not as high as the CPU. There is a growth last year, about 5%, But on the other side, we also export vehicles component, and the growth last year is also quite significant. We have a growth more than double than previous year, about 94% growing on the export of the component itself. So the total automotive industry are very prospective, and it's a good for the country because we also contributing to devisa for the country.
Yes, congratulations on the all-time high exported
Thank you.
vehicles, Pak Kukuh. So we all need to better communicate this to the public. And what do you think
Yes.
is the strength of our car manufacturers, the most exported abroad? Which type of vehicles?
Various type are being exported to other country. We even export to Japan, and the number also growing. So mostly we exported among the ASEAN, but we also exported to Middle East, to Saudi Arabia, and also we export to, of course, Japan. We also export, and also to South America. So this is a good progress, and we're still looking forward to increase the destination of our product, such as to Australia, because we also have a number of agreement with the different country. Australia, we have IACPA, Indonesia Australia Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, and we have to utilize that one, optimize that one. That which is Australia is our closest neighbor. They don't have any more automotive industry, so we have use that one, and we can export our product, automotive product, to Australia, as well as other side like the RCEP.
Pak Kukuh, as we all know as well, our government has encouraged for local car manufacturers to gradually shift to electric vehicles production. What are the main challenges, and do we need to achieve certain prerequisite condition for our electric vehicle industry to grow?
Yes, the electric vehicle is one of very sexy item right now in the world. People talking about electric vehicles, and of course we are able to follow that one. So far, we already have at least 3 companies, our member, producing the full electric vehicles in Indonesia, and very good. And also I have been visited all the facility, which is very advanced manufacturing. So we continue growing with the electric vehicle, but also important that the objective of the electric vehicle is one item to achieve what we call green mobility or net zero emission. The current product, the conventional vehicles, which is also produced in Indonesia, can also be used to achieve net zero emission, because we gradually also improve its emission. So the lowest the emission, the better. And we also introduced already what we call the biofuel, which is using the CPO mixed with the diesel fuel. We are now is the highest one in the world, which is the ratio is about 35% of CPO, and then the rest is fossil fuel. But we are also improving that one. On the other side, we also use ethanol to reduce or to mix with the gasoline. So those are means that we are doing to achieve net zero emission. And of course, there is electric vehicles, and beyond that one, we also have the hybrid, and other one that we are still looking maybe is a possibility of introducing the hydrogen vehicles.
So our government has offered to give subsidy incentives as well for those purchasing electric vehicles. Do you think that what this government has promised is enough for our electric vehicle market to grow or to attract more customers to buy electric vehicle in the country, Pak Kukuh?
Yes, of course, incentive provided by the government is very good. But I think there is a limit what we can do with the incentive. But we also have to learn from different countries who are already providing incentive. Yes, incentive can increase the adoption of the electric vehicles, but it's also costly. We should learn from the other countries such as China. They also already provided incentive as much as 15,000 US dollar per vehicles, but the adoption relatively still low compared with what the intention is. So we have to look at and see what kind of a process we need to do. But we are in the right track because we have the raw material for the battery, and we are processing and we are working to get the automotive industry on the electric vehicle ecosystem. And if we have that one, I think it's a good movement. And I believe that whatever the vehicle's brand is, as long as the battery is locally made by Indonesia, which is a good progress.
So we have competitive advantage regarding the electric vehicles.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time, Bapak Kukuh Kumara, Secretary General of Gaikindo.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bank Indonesia, BI, officially launched on Thursday a foreign exchange term deposit instrument to encourage exporters to keep their export earnings at home in longer time.
With the new instrument, the exporters would put their money in local banks at a longer period. The agent banks will then place the funds at the central bank's term deposit with a 1, 3, and 6-month maturity. Governor Peri Warjio said on Thursday that the central bank would offer attractive returns on the term deposits for exporters. Previously, exporters preferred to keep their fund offshore due to low interest rates at home. Meanwhile, for banks, Bank Indonesia will provide incentives in the form of exemption of funds from the third-party fund component for calculating the minimum statutory reserve requirement, or GWM, and macroprudential intermediation ratio, or RIM. Separately, the government is drafting a regulation that would require exporters of natural resources and derivative products to keep 30% of export proceeds at home for 3 months.
Thank you for staying with us. Now it's a time to check the weekly U.S. stocks recap. U.S. stocks rebounded in the week that ended on the 3rd of March. Major averages in the U.S. ended the week higher. For the week, the Dow ended up 1.75%, the S&P added 1.9%, and the Nasdaq jumped 2.58%. The 10-year Treasury yield has eased from their recent highs, dipped below the 4% threshold. This level has been considered a key level, with Treasury yield above 4% could trigger another down move in stocks. A 10-year Treasury is a benchmark rate that influences mortgages and car loans in the U.S., so a breakout in the yield could ripple through the economy. For this week, there's a nervous anticipation to upcoming data releases for jobs and inflation in the U.S. after the difficult readings last month. The Fed members raised the possibility of a higher terminal rate if inflation numbers do not cool. And let's move to the domestic market. Jakarta Composite Index was down for 2 consecutive weeks as investors are still in a wait-and-see mode, closely watching the Fed's rate policies amid stubborn inflation and strong jobs market in the U.S. Jakarta Composite Index closed the week that ended on the 3rd March lower by 0.63% at 6,813. Market participants are counting on the Fed's move to maintain rate or to raise rate or even raise the terminal rate. Now markets see the possibility of Fed's terminal rate to be 5.5% to 5.75%, 100 basis points from the current level and above the previous priced-in terminal rate of 5% to 5.25%. In Indonesia, investors also monitor the inflation data as inflation rose to 5.47% year-on-year in February 2023 compared to 5.28% the previous month. Central Bureau of Statistics (BPS) stated that the inflation may continue to increase further as Ramadan is coming in March. And that wraps up our edition of Economic Outlook. Thanks for watching. I'm Alim Bratmaja. Until next time, bye.